Hello, this is our first in our video series for Fontics. Today, I will show you how you could run driver analysis in Excel in minutes. Today's challenge, how can you review a 25-sheet model in minutes and not hours? If we go back to the fundamentals, a financial model answers 4 questions. The first is the drivers. What are the main drivers of the deal? Assumptions. Are the assumptions reasonable? Structuring, modify the structure to match the assumptions realistically. And the risk, what is the upside or downside and how do we mitigate risk? Normally this would take you a couple of hours, but with Fontics, you can do all of this in a big model in less than 30 minutes. What is Fontics? It's a Google and Excel sheet add-in to review deals, evaluate risk, and audit model in minutes. One of the critical things about Fontics is that it does not use AI. It's just fast, structured analysis to make investment decisions with confidence while cutting up to 90% of deal review time. And it works across 3 pillars. The first thing is review deals. You can run scenario analysis, dynamic goal seek, or stress testing in seconds. You could evaluate risk. You could run sensitivity, multi-factor solvers, Monte Carlo simulations in seconds. You could audit models. You could audit the formulas, run drip trace, and visualize your model in seconds. Then back to today's challenge, the driver analysis. Fontics has a proprietary solver that could map the deal drivers and provide deep insights in minutes, which would normally take you hours. It does this in 3 steps. First thing is it maps the weight. So map the weights of the drivers, example, growth, margins, and leverage. The second thing is map the relationship to the output. So in this case, how do these drivers impact the IRR? And the third thing is run scenarios to see the individual impact of each driver on the output. The good news is with Fontics, you can run all of this in minutes on a 25 or 50 or 100 sheets model, either in Excel or Google Sheets. Now, time for the actual demo. I'm going to pull up PowerPoint and then load in Excel to show you how this. So this is an Excel model for an LBO. It could be 25 sheets, 50 sheets, 100 sheets, doesn't matter. But in this case, I just did a simple LBO. So once you get how it works, you could apply it to all your models. So for Fontics, you click on Fontics and normally it shows up like this. It has a couple of models. So in this case, we're going to use the drivers models under due diligence. Drivers models, we open the model and let me zoom this a bit so you can see everything. And then the first thing is we link it to the drivers of the deal. So let's say we start from revenue growth here. And the next is going to be margin expansion. Then we run interest rate, then entry multiple, exit multiple, and then debt to EBITDA. So we link this. Entry multiple is here. Exit multiple is here. Debt to EBITDA is here. And then we're looking for the investor returns, IRR, and we link this here. So let's try to format this now. Percent 1 decimal place. We could replicate this here, here, and here, and here. Then this should be 1 decimal place. And we could replicate this as well here and here. Then the next thing is we want to increase IRR by 10%. what are the drivers of this increase? And we click on evaluate and it runs the solver. All right, this is done. Took 15 seconds. Let's try to interpret the graph. So the first thing you see is that the waterfall, entry multiple drives 45% of the increase, exit multiple 24%, debt to EBITDA 15%. So if you think about, LBOs, they always say buy low, sell high. They try to lever it as much as possible, right? So that's why debt to EBITDA drives a lot of it. Revenue growth 10%, not too much. Margin expansion, not a lot. So you cannot bank on expanding your margins, doesn't change so much. And the interest rate is just a little. So you can see why it explains during LBO, you have lots of debt tranches because the cost of debt doesn't change your returns much. So that is part one. Part two is let's look at the table and interpret the table. So this table, this already shows you the waterfall we saw already. Then let's interpret this part. So what this means is for your IRR to increase, entry multiple has to decrease. Same thing with your interest rates, while the remaining four are going to increase. So which makes sense, right? If you buy lower, you have more returns. If the bank tries you less debt, you have more returns. But if you run your model and you see that entry multiple goes up, IRR goes up, then you know that something is obviously wrong with your model. So this is how the drivers works, but it doesn't stop here. Let's now run individual scenarios for each of the drivers versus the IRR. All we need to do is come here, click on yes, and rerun the simulation. This takes about maybe 10 more seconds probably. It's running. Okay, it's rerun the solver. It's now running the individual scenarios. You'll see this in a bit. Almost there. All right, this is done. Let's adjust the zoom a bit. So you could see that these individual scenarios, rather than doing it manually, this is 10%, 20%, and less as well. Entry multiple again has the biggest negative gradient. Then positive gradient is exit multiple and debt to EBITDA. Then you can see that interest rate has a negative gradient, but it's quite a gentle curve. So you could see how you could run your solver and run up to 60 scenarios in just about 30 seconds with Fontics. And again, it could be a 20 sheet model, 50 sheet model, 100 sheet model. It could be on Excel, it could be on Google Sheets. It still works instantly, seamlessly. Fontics has a 14-day free trial. Go check it out. Run on your models, run on your deals. Share feedback in the comments when you do, and reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.